Hello, and today I'll be sharing a super serious method that you can use to make conlangs. I haven't used it, but I'm sure that it'll work. First, you have to exchange the money for Irani Rial, but after that, you can get right into it. Phonology makes up any conlang, so you should use sounds that you like. That's why I recommend that you should say goodbye to your family and your friends right before committing your your time, to making this conlang. Since I've personally found that the best way to choose which sounds to include and exclude is not to play audio files of people saying words and pick which ones sound nice, but instead to say each and every one of the 107 symbols in the IPA for 24 hours straight, $1 million Mr. Beast challenge. Then make your mental state after the experience, given your brain cells haven't evaporated by then. From being in a prolonged vegetative state at the top end, you have the right that's S tier, and at the bottom is permanent psychological damage. Language is made out of words, so what sounds they're made out of is incredibly important. If you're making an international language, you want words coming from a range of natural ones. Of course, you could just Google translate the words and tweak them a bit. But a better way would be to communicate with natives and see how people in the language actually speak by traveling the world. Hotels can be expensive, so what better way to get free housing than to go to jail? The best route would be to get arrested in Mexico, escape from jail, fly to Germany or Austria and do the same thing in Mexico, then do that in the Netherlands and Belgium. Escaping from jail is actually legal in all these nations. Then you would fly to Indonesia and get arrested, because many languages are spoken there. If you're making a fantasy language or anything else that isn't inspired by real ones, then the words will be basically random. That's why I recommend you use the radioactive strontium-90 to generate some random numbers. How will you get them? By counting the number of electrons emitted from the incredibly dangerous material, of course. To count them, just open your mouth in front of the strontium, and when you feel an electron at the back of your mouth, add one to the total. Just make sure you don't get radiation poisoning. The way a language is written is defining in its aesthetics. If you're making an international language and I was still held a prisoner in Indonesia, just use the Latin alphabet. Other languages make new and unique scripts, and if this is your path and you're free, I encourage you to go out, touch some grass, and unethically herd dozens and dozens of smart animals that might be able to grip a pencil, like gorillas or specific types of birds. Have them listen to each sound in your language for 24 hours, and given that you don't get arrested for the immoral treatment of animals, have them write out some sort of scribble for each sound. Grammar is another important part of languages, defining the rules of how words interact with one another. If you're making an international language, then you're in jail, and that's just as well, since they usually have simpler grammar. Although if you're making a fantasy language, then you're free, and that's also just as well, since their grammar is usually more complicated. That's why I recommend you rent out Google servers and have enough money left to travel the globe, which you probably won't, since you'll be collecting first-hand information about the world's languages, and training your very own AI just to make grammars. About it, you'll be coding it on your own with no tutorials, no chatbots, and the horrifying lack of Stack Overflow. Coders can relate. So you can tweak all the thousands upon thousands of meticulously handwritten lines of code and dozens upon dozens of hyperparameters to fit what you'd like. Now you've made your conlang, and all you have to do is spread the word. If you're in Indonesian jail, then I hope you committed a minor felony that'll only earn you a few days behind bars, since publicity is important. For the days that you're waiting it out, you can bribe the Indonesian jail guards to spread the word about your conlang in exchange for 30,000 Irani Rial, which sounds like a lot, but is only $1 Canadian, or I don't know, go figure it out. If you're free, I want to reward you on this journey with some cash, but it's not me who'll be rewarding you, it'll be whoever will pay you to hand make airplanes. And by hand make, I mean you start with tons of stuff dumped in front of you, and a beautiful Airbus sitting right there years later. But why would you need an entire Airbus? Well, that's because the conlang will have its very own airline, flying only one route. Can you guess what it is? Here's a hint. It's a highly needed route that has not been flown in history. You guessed it, it's a route between a town in Lesotho and a town in Australia with a combined population of 11,000. Of course, you need a pilot to fly the route, but why not just become a pilot yourself? So, what does publicity have to do with this? Well, you will be advertising your conlang while flying, like hanging a banner off the end of your plane with a link to your blog, advertising it, and letting all the people you fly over see it. Locally, this route flies over or near loads of large cities, as you can see on this map, like ocean, and deserts on 2 continents. So get ready, since all of your speakers will be fish.